Hey, everybody. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby. And of course, we talk with normally people who are going to help our nonprofits grow. Not this season. This season, we are featuring nonprofits who are awesome and that you could probably learn a little bit as well, whether it's inspiration, whether it's sort of an aha moment, whatever the case may be. We're featuring awesome nonprofits. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have our guest on today, Sally Jacobson, Executive Director of the Red River Zoo here in Fargo, North Dakota. Sally, welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast.
Yay, thank you for having me. This is lovely. I'm excited.
It's going to be so super fun. So those who are listening who have no idea what the Red River Zoo is, I know, but tell the people kind of who you are, what you do, and then tell us a little bit about the Red River Zoo.
Yes, thank you for that opportunity. So, of course, we are the Red River Zoo. We're a small, relatively young zoo in Fargo, North Dakota. And what's really interesting is I love to say that we are small but mighty. Our little zoo is only 21 years old, and we specialize in caring for and breeding some of the world's most endangered, rare, cold-adapted species. So all the animals in our zoo are perfectly adapted to fit in this climate in North Dakota, which we're experiencing today is quite extreme. It can go from hot to really freezing cold. And we've had a lot of success in the world of conservation in that arena. But really, truly, one of my most favorite things that we do here is the zoo is not just about the zoo, meaning animals. The zoo is about people, and we are a resource in our community, and we do the best we can to help not only educate, but to help reach out to our community, be of service to our community, and be a sounding spot for all sorts of nonprofits.
It's really great. I love it. My family loves it. And if you're in the this neck of the woods, you need to go visit it for sure. I think it would be really interesting to hear what went abundantly well for you. What's a really good success story you've had over the past year? Something that you just said, wow, I didn't expect it, or wow, this was amazing. What was that? Or maybe a couple of things, but what was that one thing that you just said, this is incredible, I want to share and shout from the rooftops? Time to brag a little bit, Sally, on what happened at the Red River Zoo.
This one is really exciting from an exhibit standpoint. You know, what everybody experienced in the last couple of years was pretty much of a little bit of a roller coaster ride there. And we had an exhibit planned prior to the pandemic called Pride of the Prairie. And the idea with Pride of the Prairie is that it would be a multi-species exhibit featuring animals that you could find here in North Dakota that we could use to talk about the great conservation efforts that go on not only in North Dakota, but in the United States with some of America's keystone wildlife. And at one point we thought, oh, we're going to have to pause on that. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. And then in the midst of all of the craziness we've experienced, we had 2 lead donors come through to help push us to the final end with that exhibit. And for the first time ever, we received these bison. They're genetically pure bison that have a very rich conservation history back into the days when Western expansion happened and our bison herds all went pretty much away. There was a tiny little herd left, and that herd was taken, some of those animals were taken to the Bronx Zoo. Then in 1905, Theodore Roosevelt gave these and the Bronx Zoo gave these particular animals to a national park to reestablish bison in the park. And for the first time ever, some of those offspring have now come back to a zoo to help repopulate other areas. And I'm just so excited because that's our zoo, and we were able to accomplish that. By passion, by relationships, and of course, for the generosity in our community. I really didn't think that we'd be able to move forward with this exhibit and in such a big way. So that's gonna be opening this summer. We're still finishing up stuff, but it's gonna have bison, pronghorn, prairie dogs, black-footed ferrets, all sorts of stuff to really instill in people pride in the beauty of wildlife that's right in their backyard.
Can't tell you how stoked I am to visit this. So it's nice to have this in my backyard too. This is really kind of great. Pandemic was a challenge for everybody. What was a challenge that was sort of a real headache for you, and how'd you overcome that over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the biggest part that was biggest challenge for us when the pandemic initially hit is that it hit in March, and that's usually the zoo typically used to get a line of credit in the winter to get us through to feed the animals, to pay the staff. And in March is when the money starts coming back in, the schools start coming, people renew their memberships, and that's when everything came to a halt. And it was like, oh my, what are we going to do? But with that true North Dakotan spirit, we looked at it. What are our opportunities and how are we going to pull this off? And what are we going to do to protect our staff, our guests, and our animals? And actually, we were the first, I believe, the first zoo in the country to open completely back up to the public. And so I work with our colleagues around the world to develop what are going to be the best methods to keep people safe, to make people feel comfortable, and to keep our animals safe to reopen. And we were able to do that. And that really helped us to stave off a lot of the losses that we experienced right away during the pandemic. We also take advantage of all of those loans that came out. We were the first in the country to receive the PPP loan to get us going. And of course, we made an appeal out to our community who can help us. And we had a lot of success. People care. And it was just so touching to see those dollars, 25, 10, 15, $60,000 all of a sudden within a week and a half to help get the zoo where it needed to be so that we wouldn't stumble.
It's fantastic. It's just amazing. So if there is a membership organization, if there's another zoo, if there's another conservation group who's listening that would love to hear a tip or a trick or some sort of thing that you've learned along the way that maybe they can implement or maybe they can use, or either as inspiration or as an actual tactic, what would be something that you would tell another group to say, hey, this worked for us, it might work for you, whether that's marketing or fundraising or sales or anything in between? What's the one thing that you found like, you may want to try this?
Okay, this is I hope it doesn't sound like a standard answer, but for me, really, truly, it has been about honestly and openly, transparently talking with people about your opportunities, about your challenges, about your successes, any way you can, and look for those partnerships and accept help. Because I tell you, when you really connect with people and learn what their values are and how it ties in to the work that you're doing or how it could tie in, just magic starts to happen. And to keep that positivity, and I know it's tough to keep that positivity given the fluid nature of everything we're going through right now. But I myself just look for the happy things. And that happy thing might be that day that I have a really awesome coffee, or that I really love my new winter jacket, or whatever it is. I revel in that happy thing, and I let that happiness kind of go out to everybody else, if that makes any sense.
It does. I think what you just said is being transparent in your conversation and accepting help, I think, is one of the two best tips that you can ever have as a nonprofit organization, even though they might be some of the hardest to actually implement, because it takes a little bit of I don't want to say humility, but it takes a little of honesty yourself. It takes a little bit of openness yourself. And then it really, once that happens, all of a sudden you have these amazing relationships with donors who really want to do the best for your organization. So it's a brilliant tip, Sally. Thank you so much for that. If you had a parting shot, where would people find you? How do people get a hold of you? What do we do to enjoy the Red River Zoo?
Right. Well, we're right here. We're open every single day, 4255 23rd Avenue South in Fargo. Definitely go to our website, and more so go to our Facebook page, because we have some really fun stuff, pictures of animals on there. And yeah, come on into the zoo. We have memberships available that will get you in to not only our zoo, but 150 other zoos across the country, either half price or free. Or you know what, if you have an idea about something, like, I think this kind of event would be great to have in our community, reach out. We're open, and we want to have more partners and make more amazing things happen.
I love it. Go visit. Show notes, they're all going to be there. Go visit the Red River Zoo if you're in Fargo, North Dakota. If you're not, go visit their website and throw some support their way as well. Sally, thank you so much for being a guest on the official Do Good Better podcast.
Woohoo! Thanks for having me, and have a great day.
Thanks.